After waking up with a jolt, a girl laid in bed for a few seconds longer, reaching over to switch on her bedside lamp. She tried to remember exactly what had stolen her from her sweet slumber when she couldn't. The brunette swung her legs over to the side of the bed and heaved herself up. Checking the time on her phone, she snorted when she saw it was midnight, the witching hour. Knowing that sleep would only evade her, she left the bedroom for the kitchen, a good cup of coffee on her mind. After she passed by the front door, a chill spread like liquid fire down her spine. It's only winter, she told herself, focusing again on the coffee plan. Measuring out scoops, water, and preparing her cup kept her occupied, but as the dark liquid boiled, she had nothing left to keep on her mind from wandering off. The chill returned, and she couldn't help but glance over behind her to the front door. It stood there innocently, though, just like always. The deadbolt was still in place, and she could see nothing to miss it. Turning back to a coffee, she did her best to forget about the feeling with the cup in her hand. She stared back towards the bedroom. As she walked back to the front door, she decided a quick glance out of the peephole would help calm her restless mind. The chill worsened with each step towards the door and further away from safety and warmth of her blankets. She pressed her empty hand against the cold metal door and took a deep breath before leading her eye to the peephole. At first she could only see an icky blackness, and somehow seemed to swirl itself. When she blinked in surprise, the void melted away. She wished it hadn't. In its place there stood what she could only guess was once a man. The limbs were long and unhumanly awkward, with bulky joints branching off several arms. Not unlike the branches of a tree, the creature was draped in a black suit, somehow making the things more nightmarish to her. The icing of the proverbial cake, however, that seemed to pass as the hellish thing's face. It was as though her mind blurred the ghastly vision to spare itself further shock and horror. She prived herself away from the door as she stood pressing against it. The scalding mug of the coffee fell, the liquid burning her bare legs as she fell backwards and tried to scrawl away from the door. She knew somehow that her mind hadn't been playing any tricks on her. As she walked away from the door, she watched as the tendrils of the black of the void she saw snake around through the cracks. The girl trapped between the instincts to flee and the gut feeling to not turn round to the door. When the door jolted, the urge to flee overcame her, and she slipped in the burning liquid as she tried to make it back to her room. She knew deep down that she was trapping herself in a corner, but she had to get away from the door. The girl was halfway down the hallway when she heard the previous locked door creak open. She screamed and slipped into a wall, cracking her chin onto what stunning her. After that, it was only darkness. "Nicole?" A warm male voice snapped her out of her trance. As she turned around, she was met with one of her sister's doctors. She nodded not if she would say anything, or even if she could find her voice, if she had anything to say. That morning she had gotten an urgent phone call from the hospital saying that her sister, Lindsay, was there. Before she had even let her see, the doctor had pulled her off to the side and insisted that they would talk to her about what had just happened. Phrases like self-inflicted and assault had been thrown around, and Nicole felt her mind rely. She still hadn't fully understood what they had been saying until she saw Linda with her own eyes. Her sister had a bandage wrapped around her head, covering both ears as well as her eyes. They said it was to keep her from deadening the eyes, from drying out, and trying to keep the infection out of the wounds Lindsay had made of her ears. The doctor had guessed that either she or someone had jammed a pencil through them to keep them off balance, or to deafen itself against something. There was the mix of first and second degree burns on her hands and legs, and her feet from what assumed to be coffee from her neighbors found slipped all over the entry of her apartment. As Nicole walked to her sister's hospital room the first time, she thought she had spied the silhouette of a man in the window. That she knew it was impossible. Her sister's room was on the third-story floor of the hotel.